Happy
So,
Labor Day to everyone out there. Yes.
fun little quiz game.
Yes. So we started off with a game of yours last time. We're
Uh-huh.
gonna we're gonna take a break today. We're gonna do one of my games
Okay.
with your permission, and then
Granted.
then we'll get back to one of your games. So you have a choice of two. One,
Okay.
which I mentioned before, was right place, right time, as in, was the person truly talented and they were going to make it in music no matter what? Or were they just lucky enough to be in the right place? Like, for example, Paul McCartney was going to make it as it was. He didn't need to be in the Beatles. He was going to make it as it was. Other artists, maybe not. The other choice
So
is what?
hang
Yeah,
on a
yeah,
second.
yeah.
How do we quantify that? Isn't
It's subjective. It's your opinion.
okay. Okay.
Unlike
Then
unlike your game, which was mostly fact based, my
yeah.
games are opinion.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Next
Uh,
one.
and the other one would be keep or toss or move. So grab an album out of your massive collection, like The River or like Sandinista or something, and we'll go over track by track. Would you keep that track? Would you toss it? Or would you keep it but move it to another space, like another position in the album?
Uh-huh. So does that entail me going and actually grabbing the
Oh yeah.
record and okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that one.
Okay. So let's start with The River because that's one I've often talked about.
All
Actually,
right, I'll go grab it.
grab a couple because we might I don't know how long it'll take.
Okay.
Okay.
So what would be some of the others on your list?
So grab The River and grab Sandinista.
Okay, be right back.
Okay. Now we wait patiently for Bartholomew to return with goodies in hand. And we'll see how this game works. See if it's as much fun as I anticipated it be. And we can enjoy his cozy homestead while we wait. It's very, very rustic looking. It gets a lot of sun out of that window. Good thing he's got drapes. Also, so he can dance around in his tidy whities, a la Tom Cruise from Risky Business. All right.
Not a problem finding those two.
Thank God they're alphabetized.
Yes.
Or but it then back in an hour.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. And so I'm glad you grabbed it. The reason I wanted you to grab it is one of the problems is nowadays, because of so many reissues, that if you look online, it's totally different than what we're used to dealing with. Now, I will say there is one problem. The only problem with this is we're so used to the tracks and the track order that it'll be a little hard to step back. But I think there are very few albums where Wish You Were Here, Who's Next, Sticky Fingers, where it's like, you know what? It's fucking perfect just as is. No need to remove anything, no need to add anything, no need to move the order. But I think that's rarely the case.
So again, the three choices are
There, it's mainly keep or toss, but
keep or
it,
toss or
but
just
but but if
move.
you feel like it can stay, but it should be moved.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with side one, track one of Bruce Springsteen's The River.
Yeah. So do you want me to go ahead
Yeah,
and read off the title? So
yeah.
ties that bind. So am I
Keep
asking
it.
it you the question or are you asking
We'll
me?
both just chime in. Mine would be that's a keeper, and it's a good song to start the album because it kicks in with energy.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, this record would be completely different without that being the lead off track, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
agreed. Track
Sherry
two.
Darling.
So I really like Sherry Darling. I'm a big fan of Sherry Darling. I don't. I would move that. I don't think that sequences well after Ties That Bind.
hmm I find the song annoying. I've never liked it, never will like it, and would be fine if it was off the record.
So you say toss, I say move, you say toss. And
Yeah.
I'd be okay if it was off the record as well. Just I don't think it really fits in with the record that well.
hmm
If I was going to have it on the album, I would connect it with Hungry Heart. I think they're sort of similar pace or feel, but I would also be fine with it. I like the song, unlike you, but I would be fine with tossing it.
Um,
And
a lot of
keep a note because I'm curious to see what the album will look like after we get through tossing tracks.
I'm not going to keep a note.
Okay, keep a mental note, you lazy
Mental
fuck.
note I could do. Um,
He works so
uh,
hard all day.
if you only knew.
Okay.
It entails a lot of work just reconfiguring hi-fi systems. Takes a lot of time and energy and work.
If only you've given that much attention to any of your marriages.
Oh, oh.
Ooh.
Jackson Cage,
I
next
don't
song.
really care for Jackson Cage.
Hmm.
It's not a bad song. It's just not particularly interesting.
Hmm.
What's
Okay,
your thought?
I would keep it. I like it. I
Okay.
like it.
What do you like about it?
It's it's just a good Bruce song. I mean,
Okay.
it's when I hear it, do I get goosebumps? No. But when I think of this record, that's one of the songs I think about. And going back to Sherry Darling,
Yeah.
the lighter Bruce stuff, like, you know, I don't know, what are some other examples? Janie, Don't You Lose Heart, or 1-2, I Got a Crush on You,
Yeah.
or Sherry Darling, or Hungry Heart. That stuff doesn't do it for me. Like some of Bruce's, I guess, more serious songs or darker songs. Like I know we'll get to it, but all of side four, I totally love.
I, I think it's ironic. I think Bruce is at his best when he's at his darkest.
Yeah.
I
Well,
agree with
like
you.
The whole Nebraska record is
Yeah.
dark as fuck. I
Yeah.
mean, the song Nebraska is about Charlie Starkweather,
Starkweather.
who
Yeah.
w was an early serial killer
Yeah.
in, I guess, part of his handiwork went down in Nebraska. But the movie Badlands
Yeah.
with Martin Sheen and a very young
Sissies.
Sissy Spacek,
Yeah.
that's such a great movie directed by Terrence Malick.
Yeah.
That was his first movie, and
Yeah.
who went on to do some other pretty great movies, Days of Heaven being one of them. But anyway, that's I think we agree on that, that we like the darker Bruce.
It's funny though. I think if you ask the average Joe, they would think of Bruce as a very upbeat. His songs is very upbeat, and granted, a lot of them are, but I do think his best work is that dark stuff. Um,
Let's see, Atlantic City or Bobby Jean.
yeah, yeah, and that's the point. He has a lot of stuff. You and I are big Bruce fans, yet there's a lot of stuff I would condemn to the trash.
Hmm. Hmm.
So next up,
Um, Two Hearts.
done. Out. Goodbye.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
stupid.
Huh.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
That
Uh,
even though that you could put that in the lighter category, I
yeah.
really like that song.
Uh, any song I could easily write myself has got to go.
Okay. Um, and I think the next song falls firmly into that category of pretty serious Bruce, Independence Day.
I love Independence Day. That's
Yeah.
a great song. Yeah.
Yeah. Any male who's grown up um in this country, I think can really relate to that song.
You can totally picture it. You can picture like sitting at the table in the kitchen and dealing with your father and life and all. It's a great song. It's he played it in concert occasionally. I think it's a tough song to play for a crowd in concert. I liked it, but I really appreciate it on the album. I think it's one of his best songs.
Yeah, I think the story. I think this is the song he tells this story before he would play it. The one where he's talking to his dad
Yeah,
about um, possibly getting drafted.
yeah,
Is that at the beginning of Independence Day
yeah.
and
That's from the live 80s, 75 to
the box
86.
set?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's such a great, poignant story where he clearly he's always mentioned that he didn't necessarily get along with his dad
Yeah.
when he was younger and that they were at odds. His dad being old school and from the greatest generation, and Bruce is this long-haired rocker. And I just love the imagery of him talking to his dad about possibly getting drafted into Vietnam and what his dad's reaction would be. I think he assumed that his dad was going to be for him being drafted to be a real man, and
Yeah.
he tells his dad that he wasn't accepted, and his dad's word was, that's good.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's
such
good,
a it's
son.
such a great story. A
Yeah,
lot of those Bruce stories are not that poignant, and they fall a little flat to me. But that one's awesome.
yeah, and it's really well done, and it just segues nicely into the song. It's a great song. Okay, so that's all of side one.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so now we go to side two of album one.
Hungry Heart.
So again, I actually like Hungry Heart, but if it was not on the album, I'd be fine with that too. I don't think it really fits on the album, but I'm on the I could keep it, I could toss it, and if you're going to keep it, that's a good place for it. Starting off side two, what's your thoughts?
Well, it's kind of interesting because again, it falls into that lighter category.
Yeah,
Um, and it really is what pushed him over the commercial edge. That was a huge hit. And
yeah,
before then, he didn't have any huge hits. Born to Run was somewhat of a regional thing, and was not a huge hit that you would hear everywhere you
it,
went.
it was pretty big, but it was the one hit off Born to Run, and although I love Darkness, it's my favorite album of his. There's no songs on it that were hits within themselves.
Well, in even Born to Run, I think seems like it was more of a hit because it's grown in
Yeah,
stature
that's
as he has
possible.
become more and more
Yep,
popular
yep,
with this record, which got his commercial run started, of course,
yep.
and then the BMF that was Born in the USA. But
Yes.
anyway, I would leave it on.
Okay, yep. And like I said, it's one of those I can go either way. So, and as we all know, it was originally written for the Ramones, which would have been interesting if he had given it to them and he hadn't kept it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know if I knew that.
Oh,
That he,
okay. Considering like that, considering as you said, that started him on his sort of hit song track, and if he'd given it to the Ramones and not done it himself,
hmm
how much would that have mattered? Who knows?
hmm. Yeah, I can only assume something else would have broke him.
Probably so. But it is easy to picture Joe Ramone singing that song.
Sure, sure. In all of his gangly glory.
Yes.
Um, Out in the street.
I really like Out in the Street. It's a there's nothing to it. It's not like the lyrics are so brilliant or anything. It's just energetic and I like it.
Yeah. So what annoys me about this song, and I think it's just symptomatic of being annoyed by Patty Scalfia or whatever the fuck her name is in general, and seeing her like um, get up next to the mic with Bruce to sing that, whereas like that was sort of Steven Van Zant's role until she joined the band, and that soured me on the song. I got to say, I don't care for her. I don't think she adds anything to the band, to the sound. I know it's Bruce's wife, and I guess they weren't married when she joined the band. But anyway, that's why I have a bad that song doesn't do it for me simply because of the imagery of her, you know, singing along with him at the single mic.
Okay,
Maybe
that's
I'm maybe call me a chauvinist, but
well. It's also it's so it's if you could separate it, because again, I don't think the song is some great song, but I think I like their times. I want to like get pumped, and it's a great get pumped song. Also, I mentioned a story before about when my dad scored Springsteen tickets for me and my sister and him, and we got backstage passes. And the one person we met backstage was, of course, Patty. Like none of the rest of the band was back there, but I will say she was very nice.
oh,
So
I'm
yeah,
sure she's perfectly lovely,
he didn't have
and
anything bad to say about you. So
I
yeah,
I shouldn't say anything bad about her. And
no, you have your opinions.
yeah, I just don't like what she brought to the band. I like the E
You're
Street Band was so much cooler before she came along, in my opinion.
you're nicer than Howard Stern. So
Yeah. Um, and Bruce called him out on that too, by the
yes,
way,
I remember that.
which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool moment. Um, you can look, but or no, Crush on You. Crush
Okay.
on You.
Toss. Okay, that is a
Yeah.
terrible song. Okay.
Yeah. So I would agree. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but again, it falls into that category of not needed.
I think it's insipid. I think it's so stupid.
Yeah.
I think, ooh, I've got a crush on you. Is I mean, like a moron could have written that. I don't understand what made him possibly choose after he agonized on Born to Run, agonized on Darkness of what songs go on, what songs go off. How he could possibly put that on The River is beyond me.
Um, well, that begs the question, should this have been a single
Yes. And
album
that's
instead
part
of
of
a
this
double?
exercise. That's part of this exercise, as far as I'm concerned. I think it could have been one of the great single albums of all time.
And what's kind of interesting is that historically, when people talk about this record and they say, "Oh, it should have been a single," the stuff they think that should be chopped off is all of side four.
Okay,
And
and I disagree, of course. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
me too. But it's kind of interesting when we go through this song by song.
yeah.
All There's a lot of throwaway songs before you
Yes.
even get to side four,
Yeah.
so it's kind of interesting.
And it's such a weird album to have both Independence Day and Point Blank and Ooh, I Got a Crush on You all on the same record,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
it's really all over the map.
yeah.
But that I don't take that as necessarily a bad thing.
No, you can have like, a sort of like a peak and valley, where like a harder and then lighter and then harder. I'm okay with that. I just don't think with this album, it seems disjointed to me.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. A lot of sprawling double or triple albums, we can't help but feel somewhat disjointed.
And then my attitude is, then why make a double? Why make a triple? Now,
Uh,
sometimes with the Clash with Sandinista, it was to get out of their contract with CBS. So that's a different sort of reason. But there's some stuff where I'm like, uh, now, when I first heard Exile, I actually felt it should have been a single album. I've changed my mind about that. But if you could have I still think there's stuff I'd toss off Exile. It would actually be an album and a half if there was such a thing.
like,
Um,
what's a song that you would toss off that?
like cause like something like and it's a fine song, but something like Casino Boogie. Like
Hmm.
there's a couple songs in there that just,
Yeah,
like what's the point of it?
they almost just seem like little improvs that they're
Yeah,
fucking around with.
yeah. And they just put
Um,
it on there. Again, it's not bad. It's not like I dislike it, but it's just like it lessens then the impact of Torn and Afraid or Love and Cup or Tumbling Dice or
so
all
it
down the
doesn't
line.
have some using that as an example, it just doesn't have the same depth
Yeah,
as the majority of that record.
yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think one of the reasons a lot of bands do these double albums or triples or whatever the case may be is just purely self-indulgence.
Yeah. And that was the great thing about Born to Run, and particularly also Darkness, is that Bruce had someone, John Landau, saying to him, working with him, no, 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 like you can get a better take, or like don't use that, or use that, And I think it's helpful when you have someone you trust to help you not get that way. And that's the problem when you're someone like Paul Simon, where you make all the choices.
I could hear Landau saying, "Oh, that Because the Night song sucks. Don't put that on. Just give that away."
I and I really like Because the Night had like both, his and Patti
Oh,
Smith's
I'm being
version.
facetious,
Yeah,
of
but
course.
but the truth is, I think Patti Smith did a better job with it than he could have. I think it was just the right person to give it to, and she finished it, and it's a fantastic song.
So would that be because you became familiar with the Patti Smith version first? So
That's
that seems definitive compared
that
to Bruce's
That's
version?
definitely a large part of it. The first time I saw Bruce in concert was for the River in Hartford, I think it was. We road tripped out there, and he did Because of the Night during the concert, and I was like, oh man, the Patti Smith song, because I didn't know at that time that he had written it.
Yeah.
How would I have known, And
Was that
so
was that before or after the Whalers game that you saw?
yeah. Because my brother's a big Patti Smith fan, so I really liked Horses. Radio Ethiopia is okay. I really liked Horses, and I loved Easter. And so I was big into Because of the Night when I then saw him. And she ended up with that song because they're both recording in the same studio, and Jimmy Iovine was producing both albums. So, but all right. So next track.
You can look, but you better not touch.
get rid of that thing.
Huh.
That's again another one of those, two hearts are better than one. There's just you talk about depthless. There is zero depth to a song like that.
There, yeah, I hear what what you're saying,
Yeah,
and to a degree, I do agree. But there's something about some of those straightforward rockers like that one live. Just, I mean, for lack of a better description, just kicks ass.
and I'm fine with that live. Again not on the album, but if he's playing that live, great.
Uh-huh.
So, but it's just again, it's taken away from the power of the album has such great songs that it just reduces the power. Or and again, it could be a necessary break, but for me, it doesn't work like that.
Okay. Um, all right. This next one personifies one of the categories. I want to marry you.
Yeah, I
Little
prefer it.
girl, I want to marry
I
you.
don't like it. Okay, I don't like it, but I prefer it to you can look, but you better not touch. I prefer it to ooh, ooh I got a crush on you, just because it's more because it's slow.
Uh-huh.
But
So
but I don't care for it.
I wonder if he ever played that live. I've never
I,
seen it on any bootleg or
and
anything,
no,
or even mentioned.
and I saw him several times live, and I never he never played that.
Did you see him on the River Tour?
Yeah, that's I just told you
That's,
that a
oh, I
minute
didn't
ago.
know if that was the
Yeah,
River Tour or
yeah, I
not.
said it. It's the
Okay.
River Tour. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Well, I
uh,
shit. It's not like I listened to you.
yeah, obviously not. Uh, but uh, but like there's stuff that he didn't do often. Like at one point he used to do used cars and to drive all night,
Uh-huh.
which was great, but he didn't do it often. But I definitely saw that. I never saw him do I Want to Marry You. So
Yeah. Well, might have to pull out old Chat GPT to find out if
yes, if you
Bruce
ever
ever performed that live. The next one. Now, this is a tough one. This is the title track.
yes, I really like the title track. I really like the river a lot.
Me too.
I particularly like the line where he goes, "Is a dream a lie if it don't come
Mm,
true, or is it
yeah.
something worse that sends me down to the river?" I thought that was
Yeah.
really, really like wordplay at its best. I think the river is a great song. I think it's one of his best songs. I
I,
really like
I
it quite
would
a bit.
totally agree. There's such depth to this song,
Yeah,
and I think it is such a good song. No matter how you slice it,
yeah,
that uh, it's hard for some of these other songs to live up to the quality of the title track. I think.
yeah. And that's the problem. I think like in a perfect world, you find the right balance. There's a song not on the river. He never put it on an album that I would put on the river because I think it would fit well, and that's The Fever.
Yeah, I know.
I think I would have fit well with that mood.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And it's a song of
Um,
his I always liked.
yeah, you've of course seen that No Nukes
Oh
movie.
yeah, yeah,
A great live version of the river
yeah,
and that, which I think that was right around the time this record was released, is when that
no,
concert was filmed in Madison Square Garden.
no Nukes was 79. The album came out in 80, but he was
Oh,
already playing tracks from it.
oh, okay. So that's even cooler that he did that song before anybody had heard it.
Yeah,
That's
it,
that's that's ballsy, and I love when artists do that when they're not afraid to play new material at a show.
yeah. Um, as opposed to though, I've also seen artists where they only play the new material. And
Yeah, I could go horribly wrong too. You're
yes,
right.
so I've experienced the highs and the lows, but there's a good moment in No Nukes where everyone's going Bruce, 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 the whole crowd, and they cut to Jackson Brown backstage, and he says something along the lines of "Good thing his name's not Melvin."
Um, uh, what's the deal with that backdrop? What is that photo from?
So this is from a place here called Red Seven. It was a punk club, and that Kim and I would go to occasionally. And unfortunately, it's no longer around. But if you can see the guy stage diving, like
Yeah,
kind of
I definitely see that.
high above the crowd.
Uh,
And this is a small club. The club held like 100 people.
right.
So you did not get big names there, but you get like either locals or you get small cool punk bands on their way up.
Well,
So
that was what I always loved about my visits to Austin is that it didn't matter if it was a name band or somebody you'd heard
Yeah,
of. There's so many good musicians and bands that are based in Austin, uh, as opposed to like a Seattle. You go see some indie rock band or whatever in Seattle on any given night, and nine times out of ten, it's just pure garbage. But fuck, Austin, it just has such a plethora of great musicians. At
there was
least
a,
It did. I don't know if it still does, but
and I don't know either, not to my knowledge. There was a band I really wanted you to see that Kim and I loved called Dead Man, and they were a lot like the band. And I'll send you some of their live music at some point. But they really like a big, keyboard, organ, like a full band. And again, they reminded me of the band a lot. And we'd go see them at the Saxon Pub, and it'd be like $5. And there were like eight guys in the band. Like they're getting less than $1, and they were fantastic. And so, yeah, it'd be hard for someone to move here and say, okay, I'm going to just, play guitar in bars or restaurants or get my, band going or whatever, because you got to be good, you know. Um,
which is a great thing. I mean, there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with a little competition,
yeah,
and when like a couple of the times when I was out there visiting, we're just going from club to club,
yeah,
and virtually everything we ended up at was of a very high quality, and
yeah.
it was God, that's a real music lover's dream,
The
you know.
first place Kim and I went to was just some bar down Sixth Street, and a band was playing. And they were just passing the hat for. There was no cover. They were just passing the hat, and they were great. I don't remember. It was many many years ago. I don't know who they were. They were probably nobody, but they were great. And you could just stumble into a bar and see that.
I
So
always remember, I think it was the first time I visited you guys, and the first place we walked into was at some venue that was half of it was outside, and literally as soon as I walked in, somebody stuck a joint in my
yeah,
mouth.
that was Thread Gills. Yeah, that was the guy with like the red, white, and blue hat. Yeah,
That sort of set the tone for like, oh, okay, this place, this isn't Seattle
yeah.
where people, basically won't even look at you or talk to you if they don't already know you, and people just have a stick shoved squarely up their ass. But Austin, the vibe was so friendly at those shows,
Yeah.
always.
And unfortunately, like that club is gone. It's just so sad. There's a saying here, keep Austin weird.
Yeah,
And it's sort of sailed, the ship has sailed. It's not that Austin
yeah.
isn't still great. Austin is, and there's a lot of good things and all, but it's not what it was. But neither is Boston. Like when I go back to Boston, all the cool places I used to hang out, like they're so homogenized now, you know.
Well, virtually every city that ends up with a lot of corporate activities, a lot of successful corporations. So the general populace has money.
Yeah,
Anytime money comes in, it completely destroys any sort of cultural cool.
it's really too bad. Like
Yeah.
Times Square in New York, gone.
Uh,
It was so cool when I used to go. Ann Arbor, University of Michigan, when my sister was there, so cool. When I went back there with Kim's family, dead. It's just so sad. So
it's all cookie cutter. It could be
yeah,
any of these Seattle's, San Francisco's, LA's,
yeah.
Denver. Um, uh, the character is just absolutely stripped out and it's because of one thing and one thing only, money.
Yeah, and so they replaced cool stores even with like Warby Parker and West Elm and all this like highfalutin crap. And so there used to be, excuse me, all these funky stores on South Congress, SoCo, and they're almost all are gone, and it's just
And
sad.
yeah, it is too bad. It's pro progress and success and wealth. All of that is such a double-edged sword
Yeah.
because there's one side of it that's great. Yeah, people are living good lives and supporting their families and buying houses and
And you want safety. Yeah,
yeah, all
yeah.
that stuff's great. But the downside is, yeah, just forget about any unique culture or unique character that used to be there. Seattle used to have a lot of really unique character up until about 30 years ago, and it was so rapidly, uh, just removed, and it's getting even worse and worse. There's so many areas where houses are just being bought up, and then these developers who, because they have lots of money, could come in and pay a lot of money for the property. The house is torn down, or the houses are torn down, and these six-story generic looking condos with shitty retail on the first
Yeah.
floor replace them. All of Seattle looks like that now.
Yeah.
It's sad,
Yeah.
but
It's, yeah, what they call mixed use buildings and all,
yeah, yeah.
so
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a first world problem. But
yeah.
as an old fart who likes things that are quirky and have character, that always bumps me out. And one of the things about where I live now is there's zero money, so like it looks like, and I'm sure I've already said this, it looks like Berlin after World War II.
So
It looks
you're not too worried about big money coming in
no, no.
and
And if you want character that reminds you of the 70s, come to Peoria, fucking Illinois, because you drive around, it's like one abandoned storefront after another. You'll be driving in some random neighborhood, and on the corner of this neighborhood is some weird little bar slash tavern that you could tell hasn't been touched since like 1961, and is run by the same family, and because there's nobody coming in with money to buy them out to put
yeah.
in one of these six-story condos. And so that's one thing I actually do like about the Midwest, what I've seen of it so far. And pretty much everywhere is like that around here. Even parts of Chicago and St. Louis in particular are still like that. They just don't have the Microsofts or the Amazons or whatever's in Boston. What's the main corporation in Boston?
There's a few. Gillette is a big one in Boston.
Okay.
But
Um,
and then a lot of Akamai.
okay. So there's just not much of that in the Midwest
Yeah.
comparatively. And there is all these Rust Belt towns and Rust Belt cities and whole states, in fact, that once all the car manufacturing took off for greener pastures, these places have just struggled, and it's really, it's almost like a different country than a Boston or an Austin.
I'm sure. Yeah, I definitely have to visit at some point to see it firsthand.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not exexaggerating that at
I
all.
know, I
It's like
completely believe you. So
it's like whoa, I mean, people live here.
yeah.
Right? I'll have to take you to some neighborhoods where it's just like one abandoned building after another, and there's efforts to try and revitalize the downtown area because it's right on the Illinois River, and there's all these buildings, old buildings that literally line the Illinois River, and it's just like such prime real estate for some sort of boom. But without the money, it's never going to happen, and they keep trying to make it happen and trying to get interest from companies to move to this area, but it doesn't seem to be working, at least since I've lived here.
Are you trying to get T-Mobile there?
Well, there's a T-Mobile retail store on every corner, just
Close
like,
enough.
that sort of thing is, I think that's the sort of thing that we're talking about, the generic nature of every town, and that
Yeah.
would be one of them
Yeah.
that you see no matter what town you're in and what part of the country. It's almost as ubiquitous as a McDonald's at this point.
Well, the weird thing about New Orleans is in between like Peoria and San Francisco. Like you'll instead of like abandoned neighborhoods, you'll see like a really nice house, and then the house next to is a crack house, and then a really nice house, and it's weird.
Huh,
Like now there are of course neighborhoods that are nice neighborhoods and neighborhoods that are bad neighborhoods, but you get a lot of neighborhoods that like what happened here, like
right.
especially post Katrina, because Katrina wiped out some stuff and didn't others. It's sort of like if you've ever seen like wildfires in LA, it's weird. Like it'll sweep through a neighborhood and then like one house, it may just skip over. And it's so
Right.
weird to see that. Like this house is totally intact and every other house around it is burned to the ground. You'll see that in New Orleans, not from fire, but from flooding.
Uh-huh. You
Um,
you guys lived there before Katrina, right?
I did, she didn't.
Okay.
I lived
Okay.
there in 1999 and loved it.
I remember you
Yeah.
liking it.
And then we were back there in 2010 or 2011 around then, and still liked it. And she really liked it because she hadn't spent much time there before. But it was very different. And it's even if you go to the library and ask for a book, they'll start to look for it and like, oh yeah, we knew where that was before Katrina. We have no idea where that is now.
Hmm.
Everything in the place is pre-Katrina, post-Katrina, sort of like pre the Berlin Wall, post Berlin Wall. It's that much,
That
of
book
that.
is out floating on a plank with Fats
Yeah.
Domino.
Yeah. And so, and again, it's sad. It's still a great town. I always refer to New Orleans as a broken down carnival. Nothing works properly, but it's a lot of fun.
So,
So I would never move back there. She would.
so is it, since I've never been there, is it worth my while to still go there,
Oh, yeah,
even though
absolutely.
it's not what it used to be?
Totally.
There's
Yeah,
still enough character that,
absolutely. Yes.
okay,
So,
that's
and I would definitely, of
on my
course, say to you,
list.
do this. And I'd just meet you there. But one of the things is before Katrina, we used to have hurricane parties where a hurricane was coming, you just be in the bar and like, you wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, there'd be some flooding, the lights would go out, you might lose electricity for a day or two, but it was no big deal. But when the levees broke and the entire city got flooded,
Yeah.
that was a big change. But they were busting on people who didn't leave. A lot of people couldn't leave. They're too poor or too elderly to evacuate. But again,
Hmm.
a lot of other people, like I didn't evacuate for hurricanes before because they'd always say, "Oh my God, a hurricane's coming," and you'd stay. And again, it'd be a pain in the ass for a day or two, but
Sure.
you party through it. That was the Northern spirit. There's a song by Steve Earle which goes, "Another hurricane, is that all you got?" And that was the New Orleans attitude until Katrina,
Right, right.
and that
Well,
just fucking changed everything. So.
certainly unprecedented.
Yeah. And it really was a man-made disaster. They had just done a piss poor job of building the levees, the Army Corps of Engineers, and they just weren't ready to handle what was supposed to be handled. They actually did a dry run the year before Katrina called Hurricane Pam to
Hmm.
prepare for what if there ever was, and they just didn't do a good enough job. So, and
That,
there's so much corruption in New Orleans, it's just ridiculous. So.
that's always been the reputation for
Oh,
sure.
and it's when they busted Edwin Edwards, the governor at the time, he said, "What took you so long?"
Did he really? That's not like just an old wives' tale. He really
No,
said that?
yeah.
Huh.
And then they busted another congressman, this guy named Jefferson, and they found him with $90,000 in his freezer in cash. And he actually said, "I don't know how it got there."
Yeah. Well, what else are you gonna say? That's
Yeah. Okay,
that's
Eggo waffles, breakfast sausage, 90 grand in cash.
yeah. Deny, deny, deny.
Yeah. So,
All right, next
yeah.
tune. Point Blank. That's a
Love Point Blank.
no
Yeah.
brainer.
Yeah. That's again one of his best songs.
Um, I would agree. He did this the first time I saw him.
It's so
Maybe
good in concert.
both times. Uh, my friend Pat and I saw him on the Born in the USA tour two times, like I don't know, within 3 days. And he did Point Blank, I think one of the nights, and it was kind of a surprise. It just when you think of a show of his during that era, you wouldn't think a deep cut would be part of the show,
That
but
was a
it
great thing though.
was.
He would change up his set list, so you never knew what
Hmm.
you were going to get. So
That sort of I think that's a core song on this record, much like The
yes,
River,
yeah,
um, much
completely
like
agree.
I think The Ties That Bind,
Independence Day.
Independence Day. Those are the core songs that
Yep,
really give this record super depth. Like
yep,
it's just such a good song.
completely agree.
Um, okay, and then back to the other category, Cadillac Ranch.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but I'll take Cadillac Ranch over. Ooh, ooh, I got a crush on you. I want to marry you. You can look, but you better not touch. I think Cadillac Ranch and I'm a Rocker are better, because they're fun. But I could also do without them.
Okay, and then yeah, I would throw that one off.
No problem with that.
And, and the next one is I'm a Rocker.
Yeah, and so that's why I group those two together.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're the same song. You know.
This is really, I haven't ever, it's a good idea to sit and dissect this record song by song. I've
Yeah,
never really thought about it in this way. So it's kind of interesting to see how truly schizophrenic this fucking record is.
yeah, it's crazy. Some of his best stuff and some of his stuff that like you never want to hear.
The next one is Fade Away.
I really like Fade Away.
So that's a keeper for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.